Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tennyson E Stead. I'm a founding member of 8-Sided Films and the writer and director of Quantum Theory. And today, I'd like to talk about an inherent paradox in the development process, which screenwriters are going to run up against. And it boils down to the fact that this long, drawn-out development process that exists at the studios and most independent film production companies, where somebody brings in a screenplay that they're super passionate about, one of the executives in the company really believes it's going to make a great movie, and then it gets rewritten 29, 30 times, and 5 or 6 different writers get a shot at it, and then it's scrapped completely and rewritten from the ground up, and then eventually the director gets their hands on it and turns it inside out, and that's what ends up getting shot. And sometimes that works for the better, and sometimes it works out for the worse. And in most cases, the screenwriter is frustrated either way. That process is a consequence of who actually buys screenplays in Hollywood, okay? Directors, more often than not, don't end up buying screenplays. If a director, like myself, for example, and this is why you should probably not bother submitting screenplays to 8-Sided Films. I am just going to throw them out. And, if we end up in a sales conversation about your screenplay, I'm probably going to wind up telling you what's wrong with it without having read it. just so you're ready for that. But when you're engaging a director who is producing their own material, there's a very good chance they wrote it too, and they probably wrote that screenplay to be exactly what they needed to direct the movie they intend to direct, for whatever reasons they have, whatever goals they're trying to accomplish. In my case, it's building my ensemble, building my company. I've written my screenplays with the actors I work with in mind. There are parts in there that I think are going to challenge and push them. The screenplay is on a budget that we can achieve, and it plays to the audience that we have. And within that, I give it a solid structure, and that structure is contingent on what actors need and what actors do. Actors take action, so the core of every screenplay I write is the action of the story. What are these characters trying to accomplish? What are they doing? And what are the characters that are in their way trying to accomplish? What are those characters doing? And that's where the conflict comes from. Okay, that's what I write. I don't write novels, I don't write about themes, I don't write about ideas or tone, I write action, and then all of those other themes, tone, right, all that stuff comes out of the action. It comes directly out of what the characters are doing, and it comes out of expressing what the characters are doing with specificity, okay? I don't buy screenplays. I don't, ever. Not interested in them. I don't even read screenplays. I don't like reading screenplays because most screenplays are not about the things I just said. Most stage plays are about the thing I just said, and I read plenty of stage plays. I enjoy reading because I love Tom Stoppard. We've talked about the playwrights that I love. But who does read screenplays? Who buys screenplays? Executives at motion picture companies, okay? And they read tons of them. They read piles and piles and piles of them, all right? Executives do not have the habits or the training of an actor. They don't really understand what actors do. They certainly don't have it in their body. They certainly don't have acting impulses and instincts when it comes to what actors do. So that's not what they're reading for. What they're reading for is something, first of all, they're looking to be able to keep reading. So the first thing they're reading for is voice. They're reading for an authorship in the screenplay that appeals to them and makes them feel something, and makes them engaged, okay? And then once they find that, then they're looking for the things they look for when they find an author they like. They're looking for the things you find in a novel. They're looking for tone, they're looking for visual motifs, they're looking for theme, right? And that's basically it. They're looking for a strong sense of character because they know that's important, but they really don't know where that comes from. It comes from action. But they're going to assume it comes from, again, the voice, the tone, the themes. That's not what makes a character. It's not. It's what the character is doing and why they're doing it. That's what makes a character. How they're doing it. How a character speaks is part of how they accomplish what they're accomplishing, right? But that's not built into the training that studio executives have. Studio executives are coming at screenplays much the same way they walk through Barnes & Noble. So, oh, there's Gerard. There's Gerard Marzilli. So, the reason why this is important to keep in mind is because that's the way studio executives have been now for longer than 10 years, probably pretty close to 20 years. So we're several generations deep into groups of screenwriters who have had to learn how to appeal to that reader, okay? So screenwriters have been taught very, very, very rigidly that voice is the most important thing, okay, in a screenplay. And then from there, you want to use that voice to start giving the reader things to hang on to, like interesting visuals, like themes, like tone. And then, and that definition of character that we just discussed, okay? And if you can hold that reader's attention and make them feel something, if you can make that reader in that executive office on Wilshire Boulevard or in Studio City or wherever they happen to be, if you can make them feel something, then you stand a much better chance of selling your screenplay, because they're going to find ideas in there that they think lend themselves to a unique feature film viewing experience, because they've read the screenplay and they think that the audience in the movie theater will feel the same thing. So the movie gets acquired, and then somebody realizes there's not an action. Something's missing. It's good. It's such a good script. Something's missing though. What is it? I don't know. Let's bring in another writer. That writer actually brought in a different voice, and now it's a little jumbly, but they brought in some interesting ideas. It doesn't really work. Let's bring in another writer. And I've never been a party to the studio development process, but I would be willing to bet more times than not it's ultimately the directors coming on board and says, oh, I like this, but there's something missing. What is it? It's the thing my actors need to perform. The director comes in and shapes the script into an actual movie and starts giving it through lines of action, giving each character something to do in every scene, making sure that those things are connected into larger actions and larger arcs. And then the movie starts to evolve, hopefully, and what winds up on the screen is a feature film, ideally, or the process just goes haywire and you never get there. And after all these attempts, it just doesn't happen. Or alternatively, in some independent companies, you embrace the quirkiness and indie tone of the original screenplay, and you bring that to the director, and the director's like, you know what? Okay, let's not change a thing. And then you wind up with a movie that has no action, or inconsistent action, spotty action, whatever the case may be. But not like Luke Skywalker wants to save the universe and Darth Vader wants to slay the universe. And that's not to say that actions always need to be, they don't have to involve armies. Sideways is a beautifully structured movie where one person wants to destroy his life utterly because he hates himself and hates his life and probably wants to start over from scratch. And his best friend takes all of his self-worth, his best friend's self-worth, out of this dude's marriage and future and just won't let him burn it down. So, so one guy's trying to get the other guy to his wedding in one piece, and then the first guy is just trying to set that wedding on fire. And that's, you're not both going to get your way. One of those guys has to win and one of those guys has to lose, and now you've got a conflict. So it can be done, and it does happen. But why does the movie that shows up, on the executive's desk so often not wind up being the movie we see on the big screen? It's because that movie lacks the things that make it a movie. Probably has a lot of great ideas and a lot of great themes and a lot of great writing in it, but not great screenwriting, has great novel writing in it. And somebody ultimately is going to have to adapt that, and especially if nobody around knows that that's what they're actually doing, and they're just kind of hit and missing their way through it, you're going to wind up with gobbledygook until somebody who does understand what the script is missing comes in and builds that spine through it, okay? So why don't screenwriters just write that? Why don't they just write what the movie needs? Because executives don't know how to read that. That script never gets purchased. So, what do? Personally, I avoid the whole fucking mess. And I grind out the film finance in the most laborious, frustrating manner possible, and make web shows in the meantime, blog here for you guys, and work for my actors and work for my audience, and keep myself honest that way. I just say, okay, who am I really writing for? Who am I really writing for? I'm writing for you, and I'm writing for my cast and my crew, and that's it. And so the screenplays I put together are built for those goals. And then from a finance standpoint, I look for people who understand the value in that. And that takes a lot of time because, you know, it's hard to trust a filmmaker. So that's my solution. It's a work-intensive solution. It's a labor-intensive solution, and there's no days off, and there's no, like, you know, parties, gravy train, champagne lifestyle. Doesn't happen. Maybe in the future, who knows? But I think it'll probably be too busy even as our company really gets ripping and roaring. And the other solution is to write what the executives need you to write. Write a novel that looks like a screenplay, that's structured like a screenplay, and let them figure out. Because that's what they need to read. They need to read a novel because that's what they read on the airplane. That's what they read at home. That's what they read. That's what they understand. So write that. And then, you know, accept the fact that it's not a movie. And let the development process do its job. I don't see any other way out of it. And that's the paradox. That's Hollywood development for you. And you know, that's only one aspect of Hollywood development. There's film finance stuff and lots of other stuff we can talk about. At some point, we should probably do an 8-sided blog on how pre-sales works. But I think this is where we're going to conclude for today. So thank you for watching. If you like these 8-sided blogs, please be sure and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up right down here. Let us know you like the video. And check out our recent web series, Declassified Project Icarus, on the 8-Sided Films YouTube page. It's the story of an attempt to send one man on an 8-year one-way mission to Saturn's moon of Titan by himself, locked in an Apollo command module with no space. It's a mess. It's a project undertaken for political reasons by the Bureau of Applied Defense Development. So it's what we call a bad idea. And there's lots more seasons of Declassified with other projects, other bad ideas in the works, including one that we're working on now. We're also going to be developing some content, an independent micro-budget feature, unless Quantum Theory ends up in pre-production in the very near future, which is certainly a possibility. We want to have something happening in case it doesn't. So that's going to be a David Alan Rifkin movie. David Alan Rifkin is a terrible independent filmmaker who represents everything we loathe about Hollywood, and you can find out more about him on the 8-Sided Films page under Smoking Hollywood. David did a bunch of how-to videos, and I think if we decide to crowdfund this movie of ours, we're going to use additional vlogs from David as one of the Kickstarters where you can submit topics that you want David to talk about, and David will explain how Hollywood works for you. So that is that. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your evening. Take care.